And then he drops out after a catastrophic debate performance. And they set Kamala Harris up to fail. That was a 3-month campaign, and she was supposed to introduce herself to the American people. No wonder people were Googling, did Joe Biden drop out? And so...
No. You're saying 3 months wasn't long enough?
It was too long. I mean, it was long enough. It was long enough.
If they had a primary...
It's not that they didn't have time to introduce. They met someone and didn't like them.
If they had a primary, they wouldn't have picked her. And if they had, she would have been able to rough out those edges that then she basically has to start from scratch with a campaign team she didn't hire that didn't like her.
In this video, Bill Maher engages in a thought-provoking discussion with some strongly opinionated guests on Real Time with Bill Maher, and things take an unexpected turn. Known for his liberal stance, Maher surprises viewers by challenging some of the more extreme viewpoints presented during the conversation. What stands out is the irony. Individuals who have long criticized conservatives for raising concerns about election integrity are now echoing similar sentiments. For years, conservative voices have called for reforms to strengthen trust in the voting process, often facing criticism in response. Now, some of their critics appear to be raising their own doubts about how elections are handled, a shift that hasn't gone unnoticed. As the dialogue unfolds, Maher firmly addresses the inconsistencies and exaggerated claims made by his guests. With his usual wit and clarity, he dissects their arguments and brings the focus back to logic and reason. Let's dive into the moment where Maher takes control of the conversation and offers a refreshing dose of critical thinking.
Everything the candidates, especially the Democrats, do to get voters annoys them. The constant texting. Did you get the texts like from Tim Walz every 5 minutes and like always begging for money and knocking on doors? We've got people knocking on doors. People don't want knocking on your door. Who in this day and age wants someone knocking on? Kids don't even like it when a phone call. That's like too much of a invasion of their privacy, which they don't care about. Who might emerge as the strongest Democratic opposition leader in the next Trump era? Oh, well, that's a good question. I mean, like Adam Schiff, he won right big.
He won big. I like Westmore.
Westmore's fantastic. He's in Maryland.
Yep.
But who's going to be the one? Gavin Newsom, we have here in this state. He's already like called the legislature to. Trump hasn't done anything yet, but I understand the.
This was the problem. There was a 2014 study that showed that Fortune 500 companies were more likely to pick a female CEO if the company was struggling, basically setting women up for the big job, but to also fail. If they did well, fine. But if they failed, like, look, we have a female CEO while failing. And that's what I feel like they did to Kamala Harris. When Biden refused to step aside and not run again, he was supposed to be that bridge. He backed off on that promise due to error.
Let's break this down logically. The claim that the Democratic Party was somehow pressured into selecting Kamala Harris as a candidate doesn't hold up under scrutiny. The party had complete freedom to choose whomever they believed was best suited for the role. If the decision-makers within the party are as strategic and capable as many believe, it's unlikely they would intentionally support someone they didn't think could succeed. If there were real doubts about her potential, why wouldn't they opt for another candidate? Now, regarding the idea that Fortune 500 companies are more likely to appoint a woman CEO when the company is struggling, even if that statistic is accurate, the more reasonable explanation is that businesses facing challenges often look for bold, new approaches. After repeated setbacks under previous leadership, often male, a company may turn to a woman not as a scapegoat, but as a symbol of change and a possible solution. Interpreting these leadership decisions as part of a larger plan to assign blame or diminish women's roles ignores the complexity of high-level decision-making. It oversimplifies the motivations behind corporate or political choices and overlooks the genuine effort to seek innovation and progress. These types of narratives often reflect a narrow interpretation of events, focused more on identity politics than on actual performance or outcomes. Instead of examining leadership dynamics with nuance, such views rely on overly simplistic assumptions that distort the reality of how decisions are made in difficult situations.
I think that is a very high degree of difficulty to put on anybody, and I do not think she is the perfect candidate. I tend to agree with Sarah that probably in a fully litigated primary, she probably would not have been the Democratic nominee, but we'll never know that. But I will tell you that, like, there's never been anybody who's had the difficulty of that situation, elevated that late in the campaign. Why?
Needed to run away from
Bill, I don't know if you know this, but the Vice President of the United States is basically shoved in a broom closet for 3.5 years.
I know.
Like, you couldn't.
She was more popular in there.
Yes, well.
I mean, this idea that in a mass media age, that 107 days
is not long enough to know somebody.
You are way overestimating the American people in terms of what their ability. No. You have someone like Donald Trump has become a universally known, understood, loved by some, hated by others over the course of being omnipresent for 8 years.
Okay.
Barack Obama becomes president of the United States after running for 2 years as president, runs a 50-state primary, is on television, does dozens of Democratic debates, and by the time at the end of that, most people knew who he was. Most people. Yeah. You drop somebody into the middle of the top of the ticket, 3 days out, 3 months out. You are going to have to spend a lot of time trying to introduce yourself to the country while also being in a steel cage death match.
I don't always see eye to eye with Bill Maher, but in this episode, he really hit the mark. His perspective on how to fix American politics was refreshingly straightforward. Eliminate lobbyists, ban third-party donations, and ensure politicians earn only their official government salaries. No outside income.
Go back to the video.
Okay, but I don't know if you ever watched this show, but I had Michael Douglas on this week.
Yeah. And at the top, we were talking about this,
and he made a very good point that every other country in the world can do it in months, sometimes weeks. Why can every other country do it in that short a period of time? Are they all so much brighter than America? I don't think so.
Well,
mostly parliamentary. I mean, there's like literal reasons, right? We don't have a parliamentary system.
I mean,
we also have a First Amendment. We don't make people campaign this whole time. The American people want to give them $20, and so they can afford it. I mean, small dollar donors are arguably the worst thing that's happened to our politics, as it turned out.
It's a small dollar donor didn't make $20 billion. No.
A lot of it.
Some of it, yeah.
A lot of it. I mean, they represent about 2% of our country.
There's a few special PACs in there that saw $100 million plus.
Those are bad too.
I think you can believe that you could have shorter elections in America, but it's not like we don't know. In Britain, for instance, when you have a short election, it's not like you don't know who the leader of the party is for months and years before that.
But you're either the person who's Googling the day before, did Biden drop out, or in a week. Did anyone in this audience not know enough about Kamala Harris pretty much after a week to make a decision? No. Yeah, people.
How are you going to enforce
that? We just get sicker of them.
What? So
how are you going to tell people they can't talk about politics?
What?
How with free speech that I know you love?
Yeah.
How are you going to limit people's ability to run for office?
I'm not limiting. We're not making.
No hidden deals. Just a transparent system built on accountability. Sounds simple, right? But let's be honest. Even in a perfect system, corruption can still find a way through back channels and under-the-table arrangements. That's the unfortunate reality of politics. What really stood out in this episode, though, was how Maher confidently challenged the viewpoints of two highly progressive guests seated to his left. Their arguments came across as extreme and difficult to take seriously, and Maher wasn't about to let them go unchallenged. With sharp reasoning and clarity, he pushed back and made his stance crystal clear. What did you think about this exchange on real time? Was Maher right to speak up? And do you believe meaningful political reform is possible under the current system? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. Thanks for tuning in.